All right, patio garden update week 8. So we have added a few things. As you can see, the growth has come along nicely. We've added a little bit and taken a little bit away. Over in the nursery here, we have one of the house plants. It got spider mite, so it had to be moved out. It lost most of its leaves. As you can see, it's liking it out here, and it is growing back nicely. Not edible, but I think it's going to end up living out here. We have tomatoes just started here. These are yellow pear and sweet 100 cherry tomatoes. Those are all started. The two little nurseries have peppers. They have Java plums, and they also have runner beans in there starting. And this pot has cherry tomatoes. Hopefully we'll have cherry tomatoes. The spinach, this was planted a couple weeks ago. This is coming up very nicely. You can see I've replanted some, and there's a young one just starting to come up right there. These are 54-inch. These climbers here, they're 54-inch, and you can see that this one has passed the top. So these guys are really doing well. And this is Malabar spinach. The herb garden continues to do very, very well. We've harvested this many times for cocktails and for dinners, salads. These are runner beans. These were just planted about a week ago. So this is lettuce, there's some basil, there are some collard greens along the side. But these runner beans, they're only about a week old. And you can see a couple of these are about a foot tall already. And they'll run up the rails and hopefully produce some beans. This is the largest moringa. He's about 37, 38 inches tall now. He is 8 weeks old as of today, and he's doing very well. These are original moringa plants. Down here, these are longan fruit trees. That one back there. I have two more up front as well. And then this moringa in the small pot just hasn't done anything, so we'll end up trimming him out. And these two have done very well together in that pot. And this one is about 29 inches tall. I think eventually we'll get rid of the thinner stemmed one and go down to just one in that pot. This one has just kind of stalled out. He's healthy, but he's kind of stalled out. I think he's going to end up getting harvested, and then that pot will go for a longan tree. And this one has done very, very well. He's about 29 inches tall at 8 weeks. And he's got collard greens growing with him. This is that younger batch of moringa that I did intensive planting. They've been harvested once, so you can see the leaves on the bottom are a lot thinner. The branches have been trimmed off. They've also been thinned out a little bit. So I've taken the weaker plants out, and I've got one more time I'll do that. There's probably 3 or 4 in here that'll get pulled out. But overall, they're doing pretty well. They're not getting very tall very quickly because of the smaller planter, but you can see they do have new growth on them. So they are still growing. It's just a little bit slower. And then they've got a little token Malabar spinach in there. These are Malabar spinach and a variety of leaf lettuces. These Malabar spinaches are the younger group. They kind of held for a while and didn't grow. They're probably 3-4 weeks old, and they've just now really started picking back up. They were downstairs out front, and I brought them up here now that the lettuce is ready to harvest. We've actually harvested that lettuce twice now for tacos, and so it's already growing back quickly. You can see there's still probably another harvest in there for supper. And this is the loofah. I called it a loofah tree originally because I thought it was a tree. Turns out loofah is a vine. So it's climbing, it's growing very, very well. I've transplanted them into a bigger pot, And you can see the mulch here in the bottom. I met someone who ended up giving me a ton of Moringa branches, and we're actually harvesting those processing those right now. Ella's grinding up the dried leaves into a protein powder. One serving of Moringa, which is 5 grams or a teaspoon. So you can do 1 to 2 teaspoons for an adult, 150 pounds. For me, I'll do just under, a tablespoon, or maybe a tablespoon and a half. That has between 8 and 12 grams of protein in it, in addition to a ton of other amino acids and vitamins. So very, very nutritious plant. So we've got 3 grocery bags with leaves in it. We're drying them out and making a powder out of that. This is the original sweet potato. He's got collard greens growing with him, but he has grown now. This is another 54-inch trellis, and I have trimmed him back twice, and he's already, again, well beyond the trellis, so I'll have to trim him down. These are the original spinach on the back side. You can see they have grown. The one has reached the top of the 54-inch trellis already. And then intermixed here, you can see these. These are runner beans. These are only a few weeks old, but you can see they're already to the first circle there. There are about 11 runner bean plants in here, all about a foot tall, and so those will be fun. Those produce a large bean. The leaves, young leaves on the runner beans are edible. They're a little bit rougher than like the sweet potato, but not rough, but just a hair. So actually when I pull my finger back, I can feel it. So definitely younger leaves are edible, and definitely cooked, I think would be the best. And then we have a couple smaller baskets of lettuce up here. These have already been harvested twice, but they're just small pots. But we harvest the young lettuce leaves early and add it for tacos and salads, and that works out really, really well. My little Moringa bonsai, and trim back. There's another one there in his little grow pot, and one more little Moringa bonsai. So that's the upstairs version of the patio, and in a moment I'll bring in the downstairs version. So far so good. Be right back with the downstairs version. Alright guys, we're back, and this is the front patio. It's been kind of rearranged a little bit. The lemon tree has grown, I suppose, probably 6 or 8 inches. It's really trying to grow out the sides, so I keep having to trim the branches back to try to push it to grow more out of the center. You can see I've trimmed, look at the different color in the leaves. These are really light. Those are new growth. So it's already trying to push out from the side. Here's the same thing. You see those are dark green. Coming out of the side are a lighter green. And so trying to get him to push up. He's got lettuce growing in the base. That's been harvested once already. It has enough for another meal in there. The sweet potatoes have been harvested a couple times, but you can see they're huge. And there's quite a bit of green still on them, so they're still growing. They've got several young shoots coming up, and they'll continue to grow. So we've harvested these a couple times already. They produce a lot of greens. They've got collard greens down inside, and a couple more longan trees. These two are doing very, very well in their starters. So those are longan fruit, Longan. These are Moringa starters, so you can see these are pretty tall. This one is probably 4 feet, I would wager. The other one's about 3. It's a little bit smaller. You can see the thickness of the base. So these were a couple of the branches that were cut for the leaves that we're currently harvesting inside. And interesting thing about the Moringa is keep these damp, and these will grow shoots. And so what they'll do is it cuts out probably 3 months of the growing cycle. So instead of waiting for this tree, or even this one, you can see that one's probably several or a couple of years old, and a year, maybe 2 years old. instead of waiting for it to grow that tall and get that base that large, you can just stick the cuttings into the dirt, keep them wet, and they'll bush out. So that'll grow into a real bushy plant. Probably in probably 90 days would be my guess, as far as how long before we can, harvest them. So those are just new, and we just put those in yesterday. So we'll see what happens.